How's it going, y'all, and welcome back to Killmark Collectors. I'm Brandon, and while we are definitely still going to be talking about Eve Echoes today, it's such a nice day. Let's take 30 seconds to go grilling. All right.
Now, I'm clearly not dressed for grilling out today, and in the same way, if you don't properly equip your ship, more often than not, you're going to end up as a podsicle, kind of like I am. So today, we're going to talk about how to get your ship fitted out with the right mods in less than 10 minutes. So let's undock and get inside because I'm freezing. Alright, so we are back inside, mostly de-thawed, and it's time for us to actually talk about how to fit any ship in Eve Echoes in under 10 minutes. So let's throw 10 minutes on the clock, and let's just see if this actually will work. The most important decision that you'll make before you fit any ship is actually going to be what you're undocking to do. Now, as much as we'd love to see the fits on YouTube or whatever, a lot of times those are very specialized. And so understanding what you're actually going to do will largely determine whether or not a fit is successful for you. As a combat pilot, there's really 5 things that you're going to undock to do. Hunt miners, go pick a fight on your own, pick a fight with a small group of friends, go pick a fight with a large group of friends, and then go pick a fight against some NPCs. Now, each of those is going to have its own objectives and obviously different strengths and weaknesses when it comes to fitting your ship. And so for now, let's just put that aside because I do want to come back to that in a minute. But before we do, it's going to be important to actually talk through how some of these things are broken down, at least in my mind, when it comes to actually using them. Now, just to start off with, the probably most obvious item here is going to be your high slots. Largely determined by if you are flying a specific faction or ship that may have bonuses. But overall, there's really 2 choices that you have to make. First is going to be, are you going for a long-range fit or a short-range fit? You can call it sniper versus brawler, strike versus brawler, I don't know. The benefit of a long-range weapon is that you can really control the range a lot easier. You're not going to be in range of a lot of the capacitor warfare or webs or anything like that of the enemy. And so being able to maintain that range in most cases is going to be very beneficial. That obviously comes with a trade-off that you're not going to be doing as much DPS. Whereas with short range, you are going to feel the full effect of all of those enemy mods, but you're going to be applying much more DPS. So that's your high slots. You got short range, you got long range. Easy enough. Now, if we move down to your mid slots, this one is a little bit more nuanced. First off, you've got control mods, which is basically anything that's going to let you control where your enemy moves or how fast they move. This is going to be warp disruptors, webs, scrams, anything like that. That's really going to let you dictate where and how your enemy can move. We then have capacitor warfare, which is just what it sounds like. We're going to be fighting by draining our enemy's capacitor as much as possible. Saying, I want to fly, let's say, a Blood Raider ship. You're probably going to be equipping a lot of NOS and newts so that you can really get the most out of those and drain that capacitor as quickly as possible. Third, we've got the E-War. And again, this one is, I think, really underutilized, but it's anything that's going to allow you to mess with your opponent's weapons or their ability to fight. Think tracking disruptors, think sensor dampeners, all of that. that goes into being able to prevent your enemy from effectively fighting you. And then finally, we do have the fleet support type of mods. These are going to be group shield reppers or group armor repepper, group shield boosters or group armor reppers. Either one, something that is going to just help your fleet stay alive a little bit longer. Now, obviously, there are also drones in the mid slots. I'm not talking about those right now because I'm assuming that if you're flying a drone ship, it's not going to be a question of if you're flying drones or not. It's just going to be which ones. And that will likely be in a different video. So then finally for your low slots, again, we've got 4 kind of different areas. First off, you've got your prop mods. So afterburners, micro warp drives. I think that you're always going to be wanting a prop mod of some kind because you always are going to want more speed. There's very rarely ever going to be a time where you get into a fight and you say, man, if only I had less speed right now, I'd be okay. It's just not going to happen. So go ahead and throw a prop mod on there. Then you've got your heals. And I'm going to be calling these kind of the overtime heals. So think about your armor repairs or your shield boosters, really anything that's going to be providing that steady recovery over time. That contrasts then with the extenders, which are going to be your shield extenders, your armor plates, things that are going to give you a very short-lived but pretty significant boost in your HP. And then finally, we've got the damage mods, which really, again, are going to be just giving you that extra offensive boost. Now, in terms of rigs, I think that these are really going to be kind of a personal decision. I know that some people prefer to throw more tanky mods on there, so maybe they're adding some resistance or adding some extra HP, versus people like myself who basically just throw rigs on straight for extra damage. It's more of a personal style, so I don't think that there's really a wrong way to go. Now that we talked about what your ship's being fitted with in the highs, mediums, and lows, it's now time to actually talk about how are these going to interplay and actually be able to help you fit that ship when it comes time for you to undock. Now, the biggest thing that I will say here is that as you start thinking about what you want to do, be thinking about how you expect the fight to go. If, for example, you are hunting miners, you may be better off going ahead and looking at short-range, high DPS weapons with a couple of extra scrams so that you may have up to 12 points because you know that you're going to be going after targets that are pretty slippery. They're probably going to be having a lot of warp stabs. And so your objective in that fight is to lock them down and do as much damage as possible before they can have friends come and help. If, on the other hand, you are looking at a more traditional target that's going to be fighting back, it might be worth if you look at, for example, doing a ranged high slot, maybe with some a mix of control and capacitor warfare. That's my personal preference. And then finally, with, again, a good mix of tanky and damage mods. Now, I know when I fly frigates in particular, I like to actually put more of the damage mods instead of the tanky mods on there because I know that my speed is likely going to be the thing keeping me alive anyway, so I'd rather be doing more damage as quickly as possible. When we start talking about small group warfare, it does get to be a little bit harder to say a specific fit, simply because you don't really know what you're getting into. A lot of times if you're doing a gate camp or something like that, again, you may want more damage because you are going to be running a very fast type of encounter. Your enemy may be trying to get back to the gate, so it might make more sense to have shorter range mods, a little bit more control, so maybe some webs to slow them down from retreating, and then more damage. That being said, if you're trying to be a little bit more conservative, it might make sense to go with a long range fit with more of the E-War and group and fleet support type of mods. For large-scale battles, this is really going to come down to whatever your alliance doctrine is. And we talked about this a little bit in the SRP discussion, but the thing to remember is that if you are fighting in a big fight, you want your fleet commanders to know kind of generally what they're dealing with. And so that is largely going to be based off of whatever the alliance doctrine is, not your personal preference of fighting style. Nothing personal, but that's just the way it is. And then finally, if you're ratting, again, this kind of comes down to if you're in a fleet or if you're just by yourself. you are typically going to want more of the healing mod. So again, that over time, as opposed to the extenders, which you might for something more of a PvP build, whether you're solo fighting or if you're fighting in a small group. So that's it, guys. That is the very quick way to fit any ship in Eve Echoes in less than 10 minutes. I don't know if I actually hit the time, but we'll just see once I actually get this into editing. And it's been fun either way. So what do you think? Am I full of... I can't say that on YouTube. Am I full of crap, or does this make sense? And now that you've heard this, what's your personal playstyle? Leave a comment down below, but I'd be really curious. I know, for example, I like running the range, capacitor, control with extenders and damage mods. That's my personal preference when I'm PvPing, but I know a lot of people have different styles and different opinions. So be sure to leave it down below. And if you want to see this in a little bit more graphic setting, not graphic like bad gory graphic, but graphic as in I built a guide for you, be sure to go down to the link below for Dropbox. I did go ahead and put a guide similar to the one that I did for the Fleet Ops down there for you to grab. And if you really enjoyed this video, go ahead and do me a favor, give me a thumbs up. Again, I just really like the validation, and it helps other people find it. So I would love you forever. Thank you so much. But that's it for this week, guys. Please do, if you haven't already, subscribe. I'll be putting out more videos every week. And if you want to try some of this stuff out, we do have a link down below for the Pandemic Corporation. We'd love to have you. We're always looking for new pilots. So check out the Discord link below and apply to the Pandemic Corp. We are always looking for new pilots, so we'd love to have you. But until next time, fly safe and have a great week.